Hey, welcome to your Uncle Joe's Garage, outfitted by California Car Cover. I'm Joe Benson, and this is our special guest, Colin Hanks, is with us today. Welcome to the garage.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Now, being a California guy, this is part of the garage ceremony here.
Yes. Okay.
Can you remember your first car, or maybe in your case, your first car that you took to Tower Records and filled up with 8-tracks?
It was a black Dodge Caravan that was a hand-me-down from my parents.
Oh, good.
Now, you may think it wasn't cool, but I fit all my friends in that thing.
Yeah.
And it was called, we called it the Mystery Mobile, man. I drove around all Sacramento in that thing. Oh, I've gotten in a lot of trouble in that car.
That's so hard to believe that a Caravan.
A van.
Yes.
But I made that van cool.
Sweet. Well, you fit right into what we're doing here.
Yeah, exactly.
Brand new movie. Brand new movie coming out. All Things Must Pass, The Rise and Fall of Tower Records. This has been a labor of love for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, but we've been working on this thing on and off for 7 years, yeah.
And Tower's been closed for 10 years?
Roughly about 10 years, yeah. They closed in 2006. I'm not good with math.
That's okay.
At this hour.
That's how I can take that. Tower,
But yeah, about 10 years, yeah.
Tower Records, for those that don't recall, it was a place to go to get music and to meet other people along the way. And I know you've run into a million stories since you started talking about doing this.
Yeah.
I was the first one to play CDs on the radio in Los Angeles, and I got almost all my stuff from 4 or 5 different Tower stores where I knew the managers and the buyers.
There you go.
And that's how we built the entire catalog we were doing with.
Oh, wow.
And then later on in the 90s, they actually stocked my books.
Ah,
Collector's
there you
item
go.
right there, eBay. Not now. They had the Uncle Joe's record guides at the Tower store, so I was in there all the time talking to people about
great.
the business end of it as well as the people who are there.
Yeah.
What was your motivation for this?
I didn't have much of a sweet tooth growing up as a kid, so I would spend all my money at record stores. And we had a few of them in Sacramento. There was a great independent store called The Beat that was in my neighborhood of East Sacramento. That was the easy one I could ride the bike to. Mm-hmm. But once I got the van. That meant I could drive out to either the Watt Avenue store, which is the first proper Tower Records as we know it site, as well as the one over on 16th and Broadway, which is sort of the spiritual site. It's across the street from the Tower Theater where it all began. And so I spent a lot of my time as a kid growing up in Tower Records. My godmother worked at Tower Records before I was born, but I'd hear stories about her working at the Bay in Columbus store in San Francisco, and it was the place where I could hang out. It was where I discovered myself. It was where I discovered the music that became mine, and it wasn't just the stuff that my parents listened to. But it was also where I bought the tickets to my first concert. Tom Petty, playing with the Heartbreakers on the Full Moon Fever tour. Arco Arena, March 5th, 1990, with Lenny Kravitz opening up before he was, Lenny Kravitz, when he was still just letting love rule. So I spent so much time in Tower, and when the stores were closing, I was talking with an old family friend of mine, and we were sort of lamenting the fact that this Sacramento institution was closing, because coming from Sacramento, not a lot of other stuff came from Sacramento.
Well, Sack of Tomatoes is very
you know what I'm talking about. And so we were having this little conversation. I hadn't seen her in a long time, and at the end of the conversation, she just sort of said in passing, she says, "Gosh, I can't believe it all started in that little drugstore." And that was when I went, "What are you talking about?" And I started finding about the history of Tower Records, and then I said, "Okay, this has got to be a documentary."
Now, I would think you would, when you're going to do a documentary about Tower, you're probably going to run into some rock superstars. Were you shocked? Were you surprised at how many there were and the stories they had to tell and the passion?
Oh no, not at all. I mean, the thing I really loved about Tower is it was not just a place where you could buy music.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a place that sold you stuff. It was truly a place where those doors opened and they welcomed anyone and everyone. It didn't matter what you looked like, it didn't matter what your interests were, it didn't matter what you sounded like. It was always a place where everybody was welcome. They could spend as much time as they wanted, and they wouldn't get kicked out provided they weren't, stealing something. And that goes for the rock musicians as well, and that unspoken rule of, hey, we're all equal in this space. And so the fact that there were all of these stories about seeing, I mean, hundreds of, musicians and actors and directors and artists and all that sort of stuff, none of that surprised me at all, because Tower was that kind of place, man. It was just where everybody could hang out and be themselves.
How difficult was it to get Springsteen to talk?
Springsteen was actually, I will say this, Springsteen was easy in that he agreed to do it. It just all came down to scheduling. Scheduling was the biggest thing for everybody, because they are big name people, and their time is precious, and ultimately I know that there's no need for them to do it, but hopefully a want, and luckily they all wanted to.
One of our favorites is Dave Grohl. Talked with him many times. He's a very real person. Yeah. I was going to say he's very tall, but standing next to you, I guess.
Well, but we both wear heels.
There you go. Grohl was easy to find, and he just poured out information, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I knew that Dave Grohl was an employee of Tower Records. He worked at the Tower in D.C. as a kid, way before his music career, and so I knew that he was definitely someone that I wanted to speak to from a director perspective, because I can check two boxes with one stone: famous person, store employee. So that was a twofer right there. I tried to be very economical with everything, yeah. But with Dave, the funny thing that was with Dave is that I've been very fortunate enough to meet him on numerous occasions. Our paths have crossed. I know his wife, and we would sort of communicate through our friends. He would tell stories about when he was working at Tower, and he would hear that I was making the doc, and I would tell him, "Oh, well, tell him I want to talk to him." And then finally, I was able to run into him. I planned it a little bit, but I was able to grab him for his interview at the induction for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in LA. And it was all very casual, and I just said, hopefully I'll run into him. Hopefully we can speak with him. And I saw him. He was sitting around the front row watching Gary Clark Jr.
Were you nervous?
I was not nervous, because I know, Dave is friendly enough towards me that he puts me at ease. Okay. Everybody else, I'm nervous wreck. Bruce, I'm nervous, and I know Bruce for a long time. Elton John, I was very, very nervous. But with Dave, I just went, "Hey, man." He goes, "Hey, what's up?" I go, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm just watching Gary Clark Jr. rehearse." I said, "Well, listen, we got this little room. You want to do the Tower Records thing?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, let's go." And the next thing I know, we were sitting down for 45 minutes having a great conversation.
God, that is the best. That is the best. The movie is All Things Must Pass, The Rise and Fall of Tower Records. Use the title of a George Harrison album for the title of the movie. Was there another reason for doing that, or is this worded? Well,
no. It is a reference to something very specific that happens in the film that I don't necessarily really want to give away. But the main reason why I called it that was I felt that it really established. I felt a very important theme for the film, which is, all the good parties got to end at some point. Everything's got to go. And really, when you see the film, you'll understand why I specifically used it as the title. It just seems so genuine and organic and authentic to what we were trying to do. And it's the name of a great record.
A great record.
So, yeah, why not?
What was the first record you bought at Tower?
Man, I've been going back and forth because, okay, first record, first cassette, first CD, what are we talking about here?
It's up to you.
Oh, man, listen, that's rough. I don't know. I definitely bought a lot of cassettes when I was younger. I'm a little bit of a younger man. So, there was the first Beastie Boys record or the first Run DMC record. It was the 80s.
Yeah. And they would have blown the oxide right off the tape.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things I remember is the record that changed my life as a young teenager.
Okay, yeah.
Which was the Red Hot Chili Peppers' Blood Sugar Sex Magic. I bought that at Tower Records. I remember buying that at Tower Records because it came in a long box.
Yes.
So those CDs, it came in those long box. Most of us remember it. I would, as a kid, take an X-Acto knife and I would cut off the cover of the long box, throw some tape on it.
And it's on the wall.
Put it up on the wall.
I love it.
Cheap poster, right? Well, that Blood Sugar Sex Magic album, the artwork that was on the cover was square, like a record, but it was for the CD. But they couldn't stretch it out in those dimensions, so they just did 2 of them and stacked them on top of each other. So I said, great, bisect that puppy. I got one over here, one over here. It was, again, a twofer.
Wow.
I like twofers, what can I say?
Do you remember the first signing you went to? Was an artist signing? Do they do that in Sacramento?
They didn't do as many in Sacramento because Sacramento was not necessarily a big stop. Most of the signings would take place in San Francisco.
For the record, I'm smiling.
Yeah, no. But I bought a lot of my concert tickets at Tower, and again, it was my candy shop.
Well, thank you so much for being in here today and joining us in the garage. So looking forward to the movie.
Oh, thanks, man.
And the stories of the people behind as well as the people in front and all that. So, great stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, man.
Hey, I know that you, yes you, haven't been in the Uncle Joe's Garage yet, but I got some good news. We have created a mobile version of the Uncle Joe's Garage, thanks to our friends at Mike Thompson RV Superstores. Like they say, don't miss a moment, and don't miss the mobile Uncle Joe's Garage coming to location near you.